In the fading light of the Roman Republic, a new legend is on the rise. A Thracian born far from Rome's marble halls has been swept into the gears of empire. Enslaved and stripped of his freedom, he is forced into the brutal life of a gladiator. His name is Spartacus, a man about to defy the might of Rome itself with nothing but courage and an unbreakable will. Capua, southern Italy. In a gladiator training school owned by Lentulus Batiatus, Spartacus and dozens of other enslaved men endure relentless drills and savage sparring. Day after day, they fight under the lash, blood and sand mixing in the heat of the arena. Yet within Spartacus burns a quiet resolve. He has tasted freedom before as a warrior, and even in chains he dreams of escape. Surrounded by despair, he inspires hope in his fellow gladiators with whispers of rebellion and the promise that slavery need not be their fate forever. Night falls on the gladiators' barracks. Under the cover of darkness, Spartacus and his comrades make their move. Armed with nothing but kitchen knives and improvised weapons, they explode into action, a desperate bid for freedom. The compound erupts in chaos as the gladiators overpower their guards. Spartacus leads the breakout, freeing dozens of slaves. Against all odds, they escape into the open countryside. For the first time, these men taste liberty. By dawn, a ragtag band of former slaves roams free, scavenging weapons and armor from a Roman supply caravan they intercepted. What began as a spontaneous escape has become the spark of an uprising. Word of the gladiators' escape spreads quickly, reaching the ears of Rome's authorities. A small Roman force is dispatched to crush Spartacus and his followers before this ember of rebellion can ignite into a flame. Spartacus takes refuge on the slopes of Mount Vesuvius, using the terrain to his advantage. Surrounded and outnumbered by Roman soldiers, the rebels refuse to surrender. In a bold stroke of ingenuity, Spartacus improvises a daring plan. Braiding wild vines into ropes, he and his men rappel down the steep cliffs of the volcano to flank the complacent Roman camp below. The Romans awaken to chaos. Spartacus and his rebel army charge from an unexpected direction, catching the soldiers off guard. In a stunning upset, the gladiators rout the Roman force. It is a first triumphant victory that sends a shock-wave through Rome. An army of slaves has humiliated the legions. Spartacus's ranks swell as thousands of enslaved people from farms and villas flock to the cause, seeking their own chance at freedom. What was once a small band of escapees transforms into a formidable rebel army roaming the Italian countryside. The Roman Senate, alarmed and embarrassed by the string of defeats, sends 2 praetors with legions to stop the uprising. But Spartacus proves to be not only brave, but also an adept strategist. In battle after battle, the rebels overcome professional soldiers through surprise and fierce determination. Even the mighty Roman legions falter against men fighting for their very existence. Amid these clashes, Spartacus loses friends and allies, including the gallant Celt Crixus, one of his lieutenants, who falls in battle against a Roman force. In grief and fury, Spartacus honors Crixus by driving his army to yet another victory, defeating the Romans and avenging his fallen brothers. Each victory feeds the legend growing around Spartacus, turning him into a symbol of hope for the oppressed and a figure of dread for the Roman Republic. By now, Spartacus and his rebel army have swept northward through Italy. Freedom is within reach. The Alps loom in the distance, promising an escape route out of Italy and away from Rome's grasp. Spartacus pauses, faced with a pivotal choice. He has the opportunity to lead his people to safety across the mountains, returning to their homelands as free men. But the taste of justice, and perhaps destiny, pulls at him. Some say Spartacus hopes to march on Rome itself, to strike at the very heart of slavery. Others believe his followers, intoxicated by victory and revenge, refuse to leave Italy's rich lands. In the end, Spartacus turns his army back from the Alpine Pass. The rebellion, instead of ending beyond Rome's reach, shifts course toward an uncertain future in the south. It is a fateful decision that will seal the rebels' ultimate fate. Rome, humiliated by repeated failures, now unleashes its full wrath. The wealthy Marcus Crassus, a ruthless and determined general, is given command of a massive force to put an end to Spartacus's revolt. Relentlessly, Crassus pursues the rebel horde across Italy. Spartacus's followers, now numbering in the tens of thousands, push south, perhaps seeking passage by sea to new lands. Betrayed by pirates who had promised ships, they find themselves trapped. In a last attempt to outmaneuver the Romans, Spartacus drives his army against Crassus's fortifications on the Italian peninsula. The final battle is at hand. On a blood-soaked plain beside the Siler River, Spartacus rallies his people for one last stand. The fighting is fierce and desperate. Spartacus, refusing to flee, charges into the heart of battle, determined to meet his fate on his own terms. He fights with ferocity and heart, reportedly calling out for Crassus, intent on striking at the Roman commander himself. But courage is not enough to turn the tide. One by one, the rebels are cut down under the endless ranks of disciplined Roman legionaries. Spartacus fights until the very end, until he is surrounded by the enemy. When the dust settles, the great rebel leader lies fallen. His body is never found on the battlefield, leaving the exact fate of Spartacus shrouded in legend. The slave army is crushed at last, its dream of freedom vanquished by Roman steel. In the aftermath, Rome makes a brutal example of the survivors. Along the Appian Way, the main road leading into the capital, 6,000 captured rebels are crucified, their broken bodies lining the road for miles. A ghastly warning to any who would dare defy Rome's authority. The Third Servile War, as it comes to be known, is over. Yet even in defeat, Spartacus's story does not end. Whispers of his courage echo through the ages. He remains a symbol, a man who dared to challenge an empire in the name of freedom. Though he could not topple Rome, Spartacus inspired the enslaved and terrified the powerful, etching his name into history. His legacy lives on as a timeless testament to the yearning for liberation. In the centuries to come, the legend of Spartacus, the gladiator who defied a republic, grows larger than the man himself, reminding the world that even the mightiest empire can be shaken by the courage of the oppressed.